You ever notice how the thoughts that stick with you the longest don't actually always come from the big moments? They don't come from milestones, they don't come from speeches, they don't always come from deep conversations that you planned. They come from a random Tuesday. I'm driving the other day, not going anywhere special. I'm just driving, and the weather is absolutely terrible, almost disrespectful. Snow, it's coming sideways. The wind, it's howling. Roads half plowed, half, just that North Country highway where you just stay where the tire tracks are. You get off either way. It gets a little bit sketchy. It's that kind of weather that you're just white-knuckling the steering wheel way too tight and promising yourself you'll complain about it later. Sometimes you forget to breathe. And you're just hoping that you get to your destination fine. And then you're almost instantly regretting and just have that feeling in your stomach knowing that you get to do it all over again, but just the opposite way. And you're hoping that all of the hard-working town people are able to get out, stay safe, and get those roads clear for not only, selfishly yourself, but everybody else that has to travel the roads. And then you're like, should I take the back way? Nope. I'm going to take the main way. And then through all of this, you're driving, and then there they are. The Amish. Why are they? Well, they're out. They're traveling, and they're moving with a purpose. They're not rushing. They're not panicking. They're just going. And listen, this isn't judgment. This is genuine curiosity mixed with a little fear, because it seems like you see them in the worst weather. Rarely in a nice, calm day. Never just a little gentle snowfall. It's always, hey, the school's closed, road's questionable, rethink your life choices kind of conditions. And they're out there with the umbrella, which raises questions. Mainly, does the umbrella actually help? Or is it more of a statement? Because if umbrellas work like that, 12 and I'd probably fear nothing. And that's when it hit me. Some people, they just go. The rest of us, we, grab our phones, we check the weather app once, twice, 27 times. We text a couple of people, we cancel plans that we didn't even want to go to. And suddenly I realized, maybe this isn't about the weather. This is about how different life kind of feels now. 'Cause it sure is different than it was many moons ago. Welcome back, everybody, to Stay Out of My Fridge. It's just me. Again, life is busy, kids are busy, and honestly, I'm starting to think that maybe it's just not cool anymore. What started off as a father-dad podcast, a lot of fun, a lot of clips, is slowly evolving into me talking into a microphone to myself. And hopefully it's not boring. But I thought, you know what? This is the Stay Out of My Fridge podcast. Wouldn't it be cool if I brought some relatableness? Is that a word? I'm going to bring some moments, maybe even some guests on in the near future that is relatable. Other dads, buddies, friends, and, just kind of things that I see throughout the week. And I was wondering, is this even worth it? Like, let's be honest, my life isn't crazy. My life isn't, exciting by any means. My life is my life, and I'm living it. So maybe, just maybe, I don't find it that cool and that interesting because I'm living it. But out there somewhere, my life is much different than probably your life, and maybe the situations and some things that I see, learn, hear, and things that have happened are quite entertaining. And it's my life, and I'm living it, and I could sit down here and just have a conversation. So I figured, why not? And why not break it up into, fun little Stay Out of My Fridge style segments, right? We'll start it off, obviously with the fridge door. You know what I mean? Because to get into the fridge, you have to get in through the fridge door, right? And we'll give you that, that fridge door moment. Then we'll get at kind of the main shelf, all right? The really good shelf, the stable shelf. Maybe you put your milk here. Maybe you put your beer here. You kind of tend to put the main stuff. We all know that little bit of, spot in the fridge. We all have that. Then we'll, eventually we'll go ahead and we'll get into the crisper drawer. maybe you still haven't grown up and you don't like vegetables, so you still use the crisper drawer as, well, another beer drawer. And then we'll get into, the freezer. If, you have an old school fridge like me, I still have the fridge on the bottom, the freezer on the top. A lot of the cool kids have the split ones down the middle. And maybe we'll do the fridge door here. Then we'll open up the freezer door. And then we'll get into it. And we'll just kind of have some fun and see if it's relatable, see if it's entertaining. And, hopefully the kids will come back and be some co-hosts and we'll have some fun with it. But either way, like I said, you're here with me. Let's go ahead. Let's get into the main shelf, right? Let's be honest. When you're a father, when you are, living in a house full of kids, you get messy houses. You get messy kids' rooms. And sometimes you just have to surrender quietly. And let's be honest, I don't mind a messy house. My grandparents, they've always said that, messy house is a happy house, in the regards that if you're not overly obsessing with always having to clean your house, then you're probably living a pretty good life. You're probably happy. If there's a lot of objects and good stuff and good vibes, then you're living a pretty happy life. And let's be honest, I don't overly mind the messy house. And do I have a whole bunch of people that are always coming over that we have to entertain, and then I got to stress and keep it clean all the time? No, that's fine. I mean, when you live in a house with, a wife, 3 girls, 4 cats, 2 dogs, life is busy, especially being a coach. Kids are athletes. We're on the road a lot. So, and I know that I'm saying I don't mind a messy house, and I know that people say that, and they don't mean it. I actually mean it. Like I said, life does happen. Kids live here. People sit down. Shoes come off wherever they come off. Jackets end up there. The book bags end up there. Sometimes the toy ends up there. Sometimes the dog gets said toy and chews it, and kids get mad. I honestly think it is a little bit of some life lessons, and as the kids are getting older, we do really try hard to give them the core values. House, the common area to hang out is the kitchen. We have a pretty clean kitchen, you know what I mean? Not only the cleanliness for the cooking, but that's where we spend most of our time, you know what I mean? So we do a pretty good job of keeping that clean. But the part that throws me a little bit is and maybe messes with my brain a little bit is the kids' room, all right? Because kids' rooms are not just messy, they're advanced, right? They operate under laws of physics that I'm not sure we've even discovered yet. Because you can clean one, like really clean it, right? Like you're motivated, you got all the momentum, you're doing that thing where you think, all right, today we're turning things around, right? You walk out, you feel accomplished. And we've done it. We played not room roulette, I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a far. Where we swapped a bunch of rooms around, all right? We recently did a new master bedroom. Boom, there went one. All the kids had a choice. The oldest kept it. The other 2, they got new rooms. We moved it around. All the rooms were clean. They were spotless. Everything had a purpose. Organized life. Life was good. Everybody's happy. You walk into a clean room, especially your room, your space. When you're a kid, it's your own. Like, it's your area. You can put whatever posters on the wall. You can, put the bed where you want. You can put your desk where you want. You can put your, I never had this problem, but you can put your vanity and do your makeup wherever you want. You can put your stuff wherever. If you choose to just come in and just disregard and put it on there, well, that's, I guess, on you. You try to get them to clean it. Sometimes you even use, you have to have a clean room as a, like a little bit of some blackmail. Well, we were gonna go and do this, but you didn't clean your room. Whoever's got the cleanest room gets to pick dinner tonight. A couple of little parenting fun things, right? And you go through it. You help them clean. But I don't know how many times you have to go through and help. And now that they're a little bit older, time to help is very running low, very minimal. But you do that. You feel accomplished. You help out. Room's clean. Then you come back later and think, did somebody break in and actively undo everything that we did? Because it's worse. Not the same. It's worse. That's not mess. That's innovation. That's chaos with intent. At some point, you stop asking questions. Hey, how did this happen? Is something that you should ask, but you just stop. And sometimes I'm just kind of like, all right, what's the minimum acceptable condition for peace? And I honestly think this is all parenting moments that nobody really truly warned you about. And I know we've had conversations, especially as a coach. I overhear, yeah, I couldn't do this because I didn't clean my room, or oh, I didn't do this. And as the older, it turns into more cleaning and throwing things away rather than, hey, I'm going to organize, take all of the stuff that I have and just put it in different spots, which I don't know the true definition of cleaning, but I have to imagine it's not just pick up the stuff and move it all in different spots. Sometimes we do got to part ways, and the youngest is kind of at that stage where a lot of toys and a lot of stuff are still really holding on to the adolescence, where there's still the ability to be that younger kid, but technology creeps in and it just turns into that. And I know, again, we're not the only house that kids have messy rooms. And growing up, I wasn't the cleanest, but I knew that laundry went here, then out, then to the washer. And I'm not sure that our girls have figured out the whole process yet, but they are a work in progress, and they're going to continually figure these things out. And, when the laundry comes back up clean, that it goes into certain spots, that is said dressers. But again, work in progress. And like I said, it just turns into one of those moments where I feel like as a parent, you do get very frustrated coming in, as silly it is, you just walk in and you're just like, what the heck? This is a disaster. This is like Texas City when the USS Grand Camp exploded with the fertilizer and took out an entire city. It's almost like that, explosion of things came up here, and it's just in kid form, like a tsunami like a hurricane. It's just brutal. And sometimes, when you try to play the nice parent card, like, come on, pick it up, just tidy it up a little bit. All right, go do 10-minute tidy time. Go do that. And then you come in here and somehow it's worse. I mean, we've all been there, right? And sometimes I feel like I just need to quietly lower my clean room standards, and not because I don't care, not because I gave up, but sometimes because peace is expensive. A clean room used to mean something. Now it just kind of means like the door closes. Most of the time it doesn't open all the way. You don't see it. And you know what? At the end of the day, if nobody's crying, that's probably a win, right? That's some adulthood stuff. It's like, how do we go a day without the tears, without the upset? Like, if the kids can, go through the day, hit the pillow with a smile and a happy heart, well fed, I mean, that's a win, right? Regardless of the messy room, we can step over the clothes. We can walk around that kind of stuff, and we can manage it, right? And let's be honest, I feel like if we manage it well enough, then you can sit down and maybe don't talk. And that's where I personally am going to try to get a little bit better with the kids, and hope that kill them with kindness in the room cleaning department is going to pay dividends. We'll report back in a future episode, or maybe bring the kids on and see if that has gotten any better. Right? So let me ask you this before we jump into the crisper drawer. I want to ask, does any of the houses out there listening, do any of you guys still have your Christmas tree up? How long is it acceptable to keep the Christmas tree up after said Christmas? I know some people that would kind of roll the Christmas tree to a Valentine's Day tree, to a St. Patrick's tree, to an Easter tree, and just kind of really embrace it. I'm just curious where that is. I love the holidays. I love the happiness it brings. And if people could walk by our Christmas tree and still be super happy, then that's a win in there. But I'm just curious, how long is too long to keep the Christmas tree up in the house? Genuinely curious how many people, because my family, a little bit different. They're built different. It's almost like they have a contest to see who is the first one to get the tree out on Christmas Day. Open a presents, bang, ornaments, everything's up. Ding, 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 bang, bang. Tree's out. If it's a real tree, on the curb, ready for pickup, ready for a burning pile, ready to be done. If it's a fake tree, it's boxed, stored. See you later. Ready for next year. Just curious on that, so let me know in the comments, or shoot me a message on Instagram. I just want to know how long is too long for the Christmas tree. All right, let's open that fridge door. Let's grab that crisper drawer, and let's talk about some things. Recently, I felt old. Like, real old. Circulating around the internet was signups for alumni basketball at my old high school. And, for a second, I think I smiled because there's kind of that part of your brain that still thinks that maybe you're the same person you were back then. But then I paused because my next thought wasn't, shit, that sounds fun. It was, I probably would already need to ice. And unfortunately, there was somebody that got pretty hurt in the alumni game last year. And I feel like that's going to really make some old people like me realize, like, is it worth it? And there's all sorts of little things that just make me sore, not to sound old, but it was a thing that your parents always told you. And some days I forget that I'm in my 40s. I'm like older than my parents were when they were warning me about how being a parent and getting older really does suck. So that's fun. And then you start to see the memes where, like, the characters on Cheers, I'm older than all of them when they were filming Cheers. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I start to think back of, like, how much fun sports really was back then. And how almost I wish I could stay in that kind of shape. Do I do a little bit of cardio? Do I have? Is there any chance I could go play a full basketball game with a whole bunch of people younger than me? Probably not. Probably not. Because I'd like to think in my brain, like, I'm not old. I am historically relevant. Like, I'm not washed up. I'm archived, right? Because there's a version of me that exists out there in memories, trophy cases. I'd like to say highlight reels. But all of our games were recorded with a VHS recorder by my old man. Those are still technically out there somewhere. But it also turns out that I don't have a VHS player. If anybody out there has one or wants to part with one or just let me use it for a little bit, I wouldn't mind reliving some glory days 23 years ago. But it also made me think of the little things, like that guy that could, just get out there and play. Didn't need to stretch, didn't need to warm up, was just a natural athlete. It brought me back to all the days like the big rival games. I don't remember the specifics of the games, but I just remember some of the people that I played against in schools that, are near, that are far. And I sometimes wonder, like, man, I wonder what those guys are up to. Like, we had some battles. We talked some crap, allegedly, back and forth to each other, but it would be cool to almost have like a section alumni event. You know what I mean? Instead of having like another game where all the alumni get together, play basketball, like, yeah, that's cool and everything like that. It's a moment for all these people that actually stayed in shape or the younger bucks to say, hey, I still got it, old man. Like, that's cool. No, that's for a certain place. But how cool would it be to get all, like, where we are, there's class A, B, C, D schools in the state of New York. How cool would it be just to be like, all right, let's get all the Section 10 class, I was a class D, athletes from these eras, like the ones that you'd play against. Let's all get them together at an event, talk glory days, show up like some photos and some highlight reels, the champs, and just have a minute for everybody to kind of bro out, catch up, have some drinks, or if they don't, have some hors d'oeuvres. Can't spell it, but I can say it because it's fun. And just kind of get together and just kind of relive some glory days once a year. I mean, that would be cool. I think bring in some coaches, bring in some refs, just bring in some people, bring in some events. So if anybody's listening with some money or ideas on how to have this whole thing happen, you heard it here first. I would absolutely love to be involved in that. And yeah, I guess some days I miss being young, but others, I don't know that I overly miss being young. It was a lot of work. I almost miss the easy recovery, the easy stretch and the easy hydration, which I do hydrate pretty well with my friends over at Squatch Juice. Go to squatchjuice.com/beardlaws. But I also miss kind of waking up and not having to inventory my body. Like, all right, what's negotiating today? Aging, it doesn't always show up loudly. It doesn't kick the door in. It kind of hands you a sign-up sheet and says, hey, remember this? And most of the time you do. But you also remember why you might want to go ahead and sit this one out. And so for me, I think I'm going to go ahead and sit this one out. I would love to be a part of the event. So if anybody listening from the alumni does want me to potentially run a table, do some announcing. I'd even ref, but getting out there, being, having that need to compete, it's just not there for me. Getting hurt and everything that I have going on in life would be much bigger of a bummer to be, in a boot on some crutches, super sore, than being, well, my normal sore just from sleeping wrong. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's jump into something else. There was a little bit of an issue around our area with the big Verizon outage, and I kind of saw it as almost like a gift of silence, because then the phones go down, then you had the outage. I didn't overly notice it because I'm not on my phone a ton while I'm at work, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't get a ton of calls. Sometimes I get some text messages, but there was Wi-Fi, so, I can talk to my coworkers. I can still answer the phone at work. Wasn't that big of a deal, but as the wife messaged me, I was like, hey, not sure if you're seeing this. Like, I don't have cell service. And I'm like, all right, well. Then I went to Down Detector and saw that there was a lot of people out without Verizon. And I kind of looked at mine. I'm like, oh, darn. There's no cell service. And I started to kind of expect chaos, right? People panicking, that old school planes falling from the sky, society starting to unravel. But instead, it was calm. It's kind of nice. There was no notifications, no buzzing, no explaining why you didn't respond immediately, and kind of brought me back. Like, pre-internet life wasn't better because it was simpler. It was better because nothing expected you to be reachable at all times. It's almost as if, like, now everything feels urgent. And somehow, almost none of it actually is, right? Thank you, Verizon. You sent over $20 for an inconvenience and, whatever else from it. But you didn't actually ruin my day. You kind of made me realize some things. Sit back and remember the days where it was just like, you told Ma, hey, going out for a few hours. Be out by 9:30. And you negotiated a little bit, all right? And you knew damn well you didn't show up late. If anything, you showed up a little bit earlier. You go out with the boys. You go out with your friends. You go sit by a fire. End up in the random middle of a field, into the woods, and you just, no phones, no cameras, no pictures. Just you, your people, probably some Jenny Lights, and maybe some Swisher Sweets, maybe some other stuff. But we're kids. We were in the moment. We were living life, and you're like, man. And this was at like the cusp of technology and kind of that world. And that's like, man, even the generations before, you still had that little bit of a connection, relatability, and then 25, 30 years later, it's a much different game. And it started to make me wonder, like, is that what, parents in the 60s, 70s, 80s started to feel like? Or were they more into the 30s, 40s? It's a weird game to play when your brain goes down that chain. And, but with the outage, it almost exposed how fake busy we've become. All right, like, feel like I'm fairly busy, right? But there's people out in this world that are way busier. And then you talk to some people who are the busiest people in the world, but don't really do a lot. You know what I mean? Like, they'll work, and then they'll watch TV. They'll watch their movies. They'll play video games. To them, that's really busy. And this isn't me being judgmental and trying to have a contest or one-up anybody. If you're busy, you're busy. But it's just crazy how busy is different to people. Like, I accomplish a lot of things. I'm like, yeah, I got a lot going on, whatever. But I don't find it overly busy. Then I have conversations with people. Like, yeah, I've been pretty busy. Listen, what have you been up to? And then we just have a conversation. I've been doing this. And they're like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. And then I start to question, why do I do it? How do I do it? They're like, when do you sleep? I don't. But sometimes we kind of confuse access as far as like internet and being everywhere but nowhere with importance. Just because somebody can reach you doesn't always mean that they should, right? And let's be honest, for a few hours, nobody could. And honestly, just kind of like BK says, you didn't rule, but it ruled, right? I don't know, let's move on to a chillier topic. We're shutting the fridge door. I'm reaching up, I'm grabbing the freezer, right? And with the kind of throwbacks of going back to the bonfires and all the friends, like, I struggle some days, and I don't know if anybody else out there does, with how we just talk more than ever, right? And I feel like that's kind of the strange part. We message constantly, we react instantly, and we reply to things that we don't even care about, right? I mean, this is all things I guarantee you've scrolled on a social media, you didn't care, but you threw out a like button, you double tapped a screen, or you left a comment, or you posted something that just doesn't mean anything to anybody else but you. And for me, I'm like, why the hell would you even post that? But somehow, with all that being said, I personally think that we say less than we used to. Like, nobody accidentally learns anything anymore. There's no tone, there's no pauses, there's no reading the room, right? Most of the time when people enter a room, their head's down, they're looking at a phone, and you're wondering how they're not running into things. I mean, it's almost the depiction of the zombie apocalypse that we've seen. Slow, lethargic-looking people walking around slowly with their head down, getting everywhere but nowhere. And the hardest thing, too, is sometimes you can't tell if somebody's joking through a screen, right? Like, you could take anything out of context. And with that being said, you can't tell if somebody on the other side of the screen is tired, if the person on the other side of the screen is stressed, if somebody on the other side of the screen is just having a rough day. Those face-to-face conversations used to fill in those gaps. I mean, I truly miss, maybe I should have done a little less, admittedly, but I truly miss those days going to happy hours, chatting with the regulars, chatting with the people that are there more than being there for their family. That's their choice. But I miss those conversations. I miss those jokes. I miss those stories. And I've gone to a couple happy hours here or there, and it's just not the same. You don't have those funny old regulars. They don't make guys like that anymore. You know what I mean? You don't hear those stories. You know, what happens at the bar doesn't stay at the bar. It's like if somebody gets ramped up about something, somebody's probably pulling out their phone and recording it and being like, look at this drunk asshole. Rah, rah. I mean, I truly do miss those. But either way, I mean, what's crazy too is, I mean, you could obviously see when someone needed their space. If they're at the bar, somebody's having a bad day, you try to do that. They just need to finish their beers. They need to figure things out on their own. But you also could tell when somebody needed help. You could tell when someone, when you needed just someone to sit there and not say anything. We've all had those moments, Everything now is just kind of flat. Everything's text. Everything's interpreted through timing, mood, and assumptions. We didn't lose conversation. We almost outsourced it, right? And now we wonder why everything feels slightly disconnected. Some things were never meant to be typed. Some things need a look. Some things need a pause. Some things need a breath. Some things need a half smile. And when those disappear, I truly believe that we lose more than we realize, right? And that's kind of what ties all of this together, The Amish and bad weather, the messy rooms, the alumni signups, the phone outages through Verizon, and the silence. Everything changed quietly. No announcement. There was no meeting. One day you just realize you're living in a different world than the one that you learned how to navigate. You're not mad about it. You're just aware. And I don't think that we're broken. I think that we're all just adjusting to a world that changed faster than we were warned, right? Some people keep moving no matter the weather. The rest of us, we pause. We notice and we wonder when things shifted. Either way, this is mine, I guess, If you get it, you get it. And if you don't, well, stay out of my fridge. That's all we got. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm going to try this probably again next week unless one of the kids can free up their schedule. They're so busy. But this was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back either way next week. Hopefully you will too. Take care, everybody.
Knock, who's there? It's the podcast you adore. Stay out of my fridge. We're back, ready to explore. Gotta tell a tale, gonna make you laugh, gonna make you smile. So buckle up tight, it's gonna be alright. We're diving deep into your fridge where secrets